Hello everyone, Ana Barreto here, and today we are having a soul conversation. And soul conversation is a mini masterclass to help you find insights and wisdoms to improve the overall quality of our lives. Today, soul conversation is about boundary. And what is boundaries? Boundaries is a line that makes the limits of an area a dividing line. And in soul terms is how we honor our soul. These days, we have this office, home, personal life all smooshed together, right? We are working from home since there's a pandemic and people will continue to home. They can go to the office. And what happens is that we really don't have any boundaries. We are waking up at 6 o'clock. We're going straight to the office. Then we have to cook dinner, cook lunch, help the kids with the homework. People are calling us all times of the day, and it could be that it's still 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock on a Saturday, you're still checking emails or people are contacting you. So what is the problem with that? The problem with not having any boundaries is that it divides our energy. It creates tremendous amount of exhaustion. We have excessive multitask, and when we multitask too much, we don't do anything well enough. There's a mental fatigue, and it can also lead to burned out. So why do we need to really set healthy boundaries? Because women are natural givers, and we can give to others from a place of depletion. If we don't have enough to give, we're gonna short give. That's exactly what it is, right? And again, it does not honor our souls. So what is the benefits of setting boundaries? Which I really hope you take this to your heart, because it gives us a tremendous amount of self-esteem. So at the end of the day, when you look back in your day and you put your head on your pillow, you feel good. You feel that you accomplished. You feel together. And that feeling of well-being, it's amazing. And also gives you some energy. And the energy is not only physical and mental, it's also emotional. So how do we set boundaries? So the step one is to find out your values, what it is that you value. I know these days we all value working because if we have a job, we are grateful, right? But we also have a family. We also have personal time. And again, if we are not well, we can't really serve others the way we intended to do. And so how do we set our values? You need to understand what is important to you. Is your work important to you? Is your home important to you? Your personal time is important to you, your community, your friends, your neighbors. Find out what your values are, because once we know what those values are, we're never going to give too much to one side or the other, right? There will be some kind of balance there based on what we believe. But number one is to establish your boundaries. And it could be on these days that you will start your work at 9 o'clock, right? And you're going to finish at 5 o'clock p.m. It could also be that you're going to sit down for lunch away from your desk, right? And even though when you work in the office, you always work through lunch, eating on your desk, we're going to set new healthy boundaries where we walk away. And because we know that when we have that mental break, it's going to be good for us. But that's step one. Now, we need to understand that there are different types of boundaries: personal, emotional, mental, material, physical, and spiritual. The one I'm talking here mostly is personal, because it's the working, home, personal life, relationships, they all kind of smoosh together, and, we're working all the time and not having proper time for ourselves. Emotional, it is, you kind of drained out, and somebody just, one of your friends may call and dump a bunch of information on you or their drama on you. And sometimes we have to do this because we're good people and friends. But when we are having too much, we gotta be able to stop. And I'm gonna show you how to do that, right? There's also mental, material, and material, especially these days when some people are not working, that they're actually asking for material help because, they assume that you're working and you have a little bit more. Again, I'm not asking you not to be generous, but be mindful of the boundaries. Where do we step the line? Is giving $100 too much? Is lending $1,000, $3,000, paying people's rents and stuff like that? What is that boundary for you? And physical and spiritual. And the spiritual is something that is important to me. I have a friend who grew up Christian, Catholic to be exactly, and she began to take yoga lessons, and her cousin came to her and said, hey, you're going to hell because yoga is something from the devil. And we're not going to get into religious belief, but spiritual boundaries is when we allow other people to place their own spiritual beliefs on us. So we got to understand what the boundaries are, because sometimes you may have these people coming in asking you for all those things, dumping a tremendous amount of problems on you or emotional drama, and you got to see what the boundary is. I can tell you what that line is for you. You need to see, and that's why you need to understand. And so step 2 is communicate your boundaries. Now we already set our boundaries. We know what they are. Now we're going to communicate our boundaries. We can actually tell our children, our spouse, I need 15 minutes alone. I need 30 minutes alone. Today I'm going to go for a walk and I need to walk alone, because women need that space where they are just not giving to anybody because they need to recharge, right? It's part of what we do. And saying no thank you is understanding that no thank you is a complete sentence, and we should be able to say no, and we should be able to tell them, please, I need that time. I used to do this with my children when they were little, and the way I explained to them, and as early as probably 5, is that mommy had a really busy day. I just need 30 minutes to find myself, to recharge myself, and then I can be a good mom for you instead of just yelling and be cranky. All right. And then I took my 30 minutes, sometimes it was 45 because I really don't understand the time. And I came out recharged. So feel free to communicate your boundaries because people understand. Another thing that was brought to my attention lately is that since we are kind of cooped inside, there are a lot of happy hours in the office at Thursday or Friday nights and 6 o'clock. And many people who never went to happy hours before are kind of feeling forced that they have to attend those events. And in the understanding of networking, we got to do that once in a while, but not every time, especially if your children are waiting for you, dinner's waiting for you, groceries is waiting for you. So we should be able to say something such as, hey guys, it's been a pleasure. I really need to disconnect and take care of my family. And 9 times out of 10, people really understand, right? So please make sure you communicate your boundaries. Or if you're checking emails lately and now your boss expects you that you're going to be checking your emails at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So communicate that. Say, hey, I'm really trying to find my boundaries at work, at home. So I will not be checking emails after, let's say, 6 o'clock. So if you need something that is urgent, pick up the phone and call me. All right. So, and that's step number 2. So in step number 3 is just having that discipline, is honor your boundaries. So today I'm going to ask you to set 2 boundaries. And that means, people who never set boundaries before, you will not set boundaries and honor them overnight. So the best thing for us to do is set 2 boundaries, right? It could be that you start working at 9 o'clock instead of 6, 7, 8:30, and then you finish at 5, right? And it could be also that you're going to take an hour break or half an hour break, and you're going to walk away from your computer. It could be a boundary that you can set today, that you're not going to be checking email after 6 o'clock or over the weekend, and responding them and having that panic attack, right? Set that boundaries that you need. And on a personal level, it could be that you want to, at least once a week, walk alone. I know your kids are waiting for you all day to go for a walk in the park, and you may want to do that. But once a week, you're going to take the time and maybe take a bath, undisturbed with somebody knocking on the door, and going for a walk by yourself or for a drive, whatever it is that you need to do to take care of yourself. So, remember, self-care is not being selfish, right? So today, Soul Conversations is to remind you that you need to set your boundaries for a well-being, for, a great lifestyle. So check out the other Soul Conversation series, and I'll see you soon.